Hey there, and welcome to the Planner Pals podcast, a podcast hosted by two true Planner Pals. My name is Mark, or Mark Your Pages.
And I am Jess, or Jashi Corinne, and in today's episode, we're doing something that, I'd say it was long awaited, but we're really only on like our 9th episode, so how long was it? But today we're playing Never Have I Ever Stationery Edition.
That's right. If you've never played Never Have I Ever before, usually this is like a game you play with your friends while you're hanging out. Maybe some beverages are involved, and you're just really kind of throwing things out there. And the whole idea here is to kind of expose people without having to really expose yourself. So the way we're going to play this game today, let's go ahead and just put a safety warning out here. You can choose to have a beverage with you if you want to. I chose a nice coffee. Jess, what are you? Oh, of course, you're going with the Coke Zero.
Of course. There's no question about it.
But if you have anything else you want to go with, go for it. You got a beer, you got a little bevy, go for it. But again, we are not responsible for anything that happens after this episode. If you don't want to have a drink with you, that's totally cool. You can also just notch it down inside of your notebook. I'm also going to be keeping score as well. I just got a fancy new fountain pen, Jess, so you know that I have to use it as much as possible. So very excited about that. So we're going to go ahead through these. And the way that you play this game is after we read one of these, if you have never done those things before, you don't do anything. But if you have done that thing, that's when you're going to take a drink or you're going to notch down your point. And at the end, we're going to tally up how many points that we have and see who is the most guilty of all of these things among us. Are you ready to go, Jess?
Oh my gosh, I'm worried because I haven't really looked through what people submitted, which first of all, thank you to everybody who submitted a Never Have I Ever prompt. We got quite a few of them, so quite a few to get through today. It probably won't make it for the longest episode we've ever done because Go Wild was a ride, but it'll still probably take us a hot minute to get through all of them, but we're very excited to get into it. First one we've got, never have I ever bought stationery secondhand.
I never have.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have. I don't know, I just like things to be new.
I'm the same exact way. I saw this one and I was like, what does that count? Does that count as like buying someone else's new notebook? Or is this like a used product? Like someone has used these pens or used these markers. Like that's how I thought about secondhand.
I think the weird thing is that I've sold stationery, like secondhand. So sticker books that I maybe used like one sticker out of or just didn't really get around to touching, or notepads that I've maybe, I don't know, not touched or only used a couple leaves out of. I have a tendency not to sell on my stationery if it's been kind of like well loved or at least even like 20% loved, because then I just feel like, no, I'm just going to give this away.
Yeah,
So,
I'm the same way.
donated maybe, but purchased, no.
All right, our next Never Have I Ever. Never have I ever sorted my notebooks in rainbow order. This is totally someone from your community, Jess.
Who is attacking me? Oh my gosh, yes, of course, I have done this. I got the guys in the back looking cute. Also got like mini rainbows in my closet, but I don't have enough notebooks to make them out to be like a full rainbow of notebooks yet. What about you?
No, because I'm color deficient and I couldn't do it if I wanted to.
I'd love to see you try.
Yeah, it would be like, Mark, do you know those yellows and those greens? They're not the same. I'd be like, they look the same to me. That's all that matters.
The hardest part is getting the gradients right. So when you kind of transitioned from one color to the next, so like blue and green in the middle with the teals and stuff, that's tricky. And then also like getting a good color difference between orange and yellow sometimes is hard because you end up with a lot of peachy tones, but then they don't really look like they belong there. So it's like, do I put you in pink? It takes more time than it's probably worth, but I love it. So,
But I don't know that I could do any of those things that you just mentioned because I'd be like, nope, this is just it. So I just put the nicest, coolest ones out on the shelf. That's how I decide to organize mine.
It's a valid system.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never have I ever abandoned a notebook because the size of the paper was driving me nuts.
Gulp, 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 gulp. I've definitely, let me go and notch myself down here too to keep track of everything. So I actually do this a lot because I like to experiment a lot. And I will say, hey, this is going to be the notebook that I'm using now. And then I'll get into it and just like, it's really not working for me. And I stop using it. I actually just talked about this on a recent YouTube episode I did because I just set up my mid-year kind of new desk bullet journal here. And I tried a lot of other notebooks before I got to like just say, Mark, set up a bullet journal, like, that's what you want to do, let's be honest. And so most of the notebooks I used only have a handful of pages, or the paper wasn't right, or I just wasn't quite sure about it, and just No. So yeah, I've done that plenty. I have a lot of half-used notebooks. Maybe I should sell them.
Yeah, you could. I mean, it depends as to how much you want to sell them for and like how much they're used, but you could try. I don't think I've ever abandoned a notebook because of the size. I think maybe I've like jumped out early, but I've already had like 3 months in the notebook, so I don't really call it abandoning. It's more like I could probably fit another month in here, but I want to try something new, so I kind of move on to another one. But given how much I filled the notebook, I wouldn't really call it abandoned per se.
Yeah, I've done that too. Like right there at the end, you're like, can I make it another several weeks inside of here? And I feel like now we have a pretty good idea how much we write inside of our notebooks to be able to say like, can I make it 10 pages? And I'll do it. I'm not going to lie. I've been like right there at the end of the year where I'm like, I really don't want to start a new notebook right now. And I'll be like, okay, Mark, week 1, week 2. I'm like, no more collection pages, no more extra doodles. Get a scrap piece of paper if you want a separate note. I can get real like crazy about it, but I definitely would not call like leaving like 10 pages at the end of a notebook abandoning it. It's just being smart.
Yeah, I want my current notebook at the moment because I really want to transition over at the mid-year point.
Mm.
I actually set up weeklies for the first time in quite a while because I'm very much more of a dailies person now, interestingly. But set those up to try and save on space a little bit. Had 3 extra spreads at the end of the journal. I'm like, whew, I made it. We're okay. We have a little bit of buffer room if I need to take down some notes, but otherwise it's going to be a nice smooth transition into the second half of the year.
Chef's kiss. I love when it works out that way. All right, let's go into our next one. Let me get my cup ready for this. Never have I ever held a grudge against a colleague or a friend for not returning a borrowed pen.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna say a grudge. They just don't get pens anymore. So is that considered a grudge?
I don't know. I think that's just smart planning. You've been burnt before. You're not going to take on that risk again. I don't think I've necessarily gotten annoyed at somebody, but that's only because I don't lend my pens to people, at least not the ones I like.
Oh, it's definitely something you learn, right? You're just like, no, I don't trust you with this pen, or I've lent it to you before and you didn't give it back. Like you only get the crappy ones. And I think all stationary planner people have a very small stash, limited quantity of crappy pens to lend out if you need to.
Yeah, I have all of my crappy pens sitting downstairs so that when people come over for like board game nights or whatever, and they have games where you have to be able to write things down like categories and whatever, I'm like, here's the guest pens selection. Yeah, peruse and choose as you will. But like my baby ink joys, no.
You don't touch those. You do not touch those.
Never have I ever cut a page too close to the threading of the notebook. Yes, definitely, but not to the extent where the notebook itself was harmed. More so, just like maybe the page on the other side started to do a little cheeky escape kind of maneuver.
So like it's the like what's inside the margin holding the paper together. Like see, this is why I don't cut my pages, because that scares the crap out of me, and I would do that. My whole notebook would just like fall to pieces.
Yeah, certainly. It's a dangerous sport, but if you do it carefully, then it's okay. I mean, one of the tools that I kind of use now is rather than cutting all the way to the binding is you leave like a little kind of tab or tag of paper still left kind of in the journal, and you just double-sided tape that to the next page so it's still secure. It doesn't like really make too much of an eyesore or anything like that, and it means your paper is all still very much secured in the notebook.
Yes, again, this is why I don't cut my notebook, because that sounds like I'm not playing those games.
Danger zone.
All right, our next one. Never have I ever set up a whole month in my bullet journal and used exactly none of it.
Not quite none, but surefire it was close. I had an entire setup that I did for June, and I wrote July the entire way through it, and it irked the ever-loving crap out of me. It was also a month where I was doing a theme that was very not cohesive, and I just couldn't get behind it. I like it when things are matchy-matchy. I like it when my journal looks nice, and it was just giving me the ick the entire way through of trying to use it. So after like the first week and a half, possibly even only a week, I was like, yeah, nah, we're just gonna scoot that to the side and go and write things on a sticky note.
Yeah, I don't plan that far in advance. I just do my weeklies really, and then everything else kind of pops into my future log and I bring it forward. I've thought about potentially doing a month in advance, especially in my new like desk bullet journal, because it works a little bit different than my work bullet journal is. And I thought, well, this could be great to kind of get those things I need to do in advance, but I just don't know if I would stick with it, because I would probably do something similar. I'd be like, I'm not feeling this week. That's why I like planning like spur of the moment, right? I can be like, I got this brand new stamp set and this new pen. I'm going to use them together. But am I feeling that next week? I don't know.
Yeah, it's very kind of like a balancing act when you're trying to plan that far in advance, because if you don't take the time to really consider what you will probably need in the moment, you can end up with layouts that really don't fit the bill. Like in making my weeklies for this month, because, trying out weeklies again, a little bit strange for me.
So proud of you.
Thank you. I try. But I very much had to plan out like which weeks am I going to need a lot of space to write because I'll have a lot going on, which weeks am I not going to be around and thus don't need so much space. So taking the time to consider it can kind of safeguard yourself, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Never have I ever bought stationery when I was on a no stationery buying freeze.
Taking a long, deep sip. I'm going to need a whole extra iced coffee, I think. I've told myself before that I wasn't on no buy freeze. I don't know if I actually ever like done it though, because I think the idea is with this, right, is that we're like, okay, time to simmer down now. Maybe a big purchase month last month, like, whoa. But the problem with any stationery addict is there is always going to be a new notebook, a new sticker or stamp collection, a new release from something that we love. And the worst thing, at least for me, is to think that I'll never be able to get that again. So I think with like subscription box, I think about Archer and Olive all the time, right? That new subscription box is about to come out. And someone was like, Mark, are you going to get it? Like, have you seen the peaks? Have you heard anything? And I haven't really. I've heard a handful of things from being on the ambassador team, but I still say like, I will never not get it because just the potential opportunity to never get an item again from something that I totally could get, I'm just not risking it.
No, that's fair. If it was easier to get to the ass end of the world where I live, then maybe. But I only take the ones that they are willing to send me for free. Thank you so much. Very blessed. But I don't really have a stationery buying problem. Now, I know that that sounds like someone who is Delulu and they don't know they have an issue. But
As she has an entire rainbow color inside of behind her and in her closets.
See, the thing is that though, I don't often feel compelled to buy stationery unless somebody reaches out to me and says like, hey, we want to like, give you a free box of crap in the nicest way possible. We want to give you like $100 gift voucher that you can spend at our store and all of that kind of stuff. So I pretty much reserve all of my stationery buying for those moments because I know that they're probably going to crop up, which I'm very lucky to have. And then I just get my stationery in those instances. I also find that my rebel brain kicks in anytime I try to tell myself not to do something. So I just don't put myself on a no buy for stationery because that's just a surefire recipe for making sure I spend way too much on stationery.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do too. I would end up buying extra because I waited an entire month to buy it instead, or I would just forget about it, Never, who knows?
Yeah, just open the floodgates, all of the purchases.
Yeah, that's exactly what would happen. I'd keep a note or keep checking on it, be like, is it still available? We're one day away. And I wait till like midnight and then I'd order it. All right, our next one. Oh gosh. Get your stuff out, Jess. Get ready to take a big old sip because I'll be doing the same. Never have I ever set up a tracker and not used it.
Oh my god, constantly, so often, especially like certain types of trackers are the weak points, I swear. So things like time logs after a month where I was really good with my time log, that's always a pain point because I'm like, oh, I did really well with this, I'll set it up again, and then crickets, nothing on the time log. Obviously I died. Also, anytime I set up a weight tracker, I use it for maybe like the first couple weeks being like, yeah, and then you get to that 1 week where your weight goes up instead of down, you're like, cool, I'm out, bye.
Burn this notebook. We're done with this one. That's why I stopped doing trackers, is that for a long time I felt like I had to. We talked about that in an earlier episode. It was just one of those things where you see everyone else doing it. It makes really cool looking spreads, but when you don't use them and you come back to it, you're just like, wow, this is a big old failure. For me, I like to use them when I need them. That's kind of how I think about it. Like if something's really on my mind or I'm trying to do something, I'd rather just add it to my weekly than add it to my monthly, because that way, like if I fail in that week, I'm just like, yeah, it didn't quite work out, something different next week. But if it's in the month and I've set it all up for 30 days, you're just kind of looking at it and you're just like, damn it, nah, I'm still not going to do it.
You're looking at it and it's looking at you and you're looking at it. I find that the weekly trackers work a lot better, honestly, because it just helps you to have like a smaller snippet of time to focus on in a way. So that was one of the changes that I made this year, is transitioning from month-long trackers to just weekly ones, because it's a little bit like right in your face, you're working on your weekly the majority of the time and stuff, writing down tasks, events, notes, whatever else, and your tracker's just there like, hi, I exist. Please pay attention to me, as opposed to being on a separate page all by itself. Like, will she ever turn back? One day my prince will come.
You're a spinster for the rest of your life. It's what happens when you watch Bridgerton too much. I've been using the word spinster a lot just because I'm watching Bridgerton.
I've been using mama in my head, which is like, my mom doesn't even like live here or in the country with me, but I just like, mama, I'm taking a walk around the ton, kind of a thing. All right, what's the next one? So, never have I ever had to give away notebooks to friends or family because I had too many. I've never had to. I just do, because people come over and like they're talking about, oh, I want to start a notebook for something, or I really love what you're doing with journals. I'm like, well, hey, would you like to come and shop my stash, kind of a thing? Not that one. Go get one from the cupboard. You're not allowed the rainbow. You'll break it up.
Not the good ones. I don't have a replacement for that color of blue.
Literally. No, Vogel came in at the start of the year or like end of last year, and it's like, okay, we're gonna pick you a notebook. Which one do you want? Kind of thing. Like picked out a couple options for him. He's like, oh, what's that one? I'm like, no, that's my dragon from Archer and Olive. You can't have it. It's mine.
Never
He's like,
using
but I
that
like
one.
the dragon. I'm like, no, he is a shelf trophy. You can't touch him.
I have so many of those. I was just looking through them and I was trying to pick the one I was using for my desk journal, and all of the ones I've been saving, and it's all Halloween ones. I love the way the Halloween ones look, but I was like, ooh, do I want the potions, or did I want the wand, or I was like, maybe the spell book, and I ended up going with the lock and key one that was inside of the separate Halloween box, because I had two of those, because my daughter wanted the glass pen and I wanted the glass pen, so I just ended up getting two boxes. Sorry to anyone who couldn't get a box because I bought two. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, I don't know which one to pick, because they're all just like beautiful display items.
I have only a couple that I have duplicates of. That's usually because I bought like a mystery kit box type deal. So those ones kind of showed up. Or I bought them for giveaways and then never did the giveaway, or the giveaway winner never contacted me. The number of times that I run a giveaway and the giveaway winner doesn't get in touch.
Who are you? Anytime you're offered anything free from somebody, you say yes, unless it's drugs.
Yes, please. Yeah. Yes, please. We do not endorse this message.
Yeah, this is that safety warning. Don't drink too much alcohol during this thing, and don't do drugs.
Oh my gosh, I was literally thinking about that before with the like buying stationery. It's like that part of Love Actually where Bill Nighy's character's like, kids don't do drugs, like become a celebrity and they give them to you for free. And I'm like, oh god, it's me.
You're absolutely kind of right there. Yeah, I was today. I went and got one of my fountain pens, got the nib ground, which is or grinded. I don't know what the right word phrase is for it. And I was there talking to people. I was talking to the guy who was doing it, and he was like, "So how'd you get into fountain pens?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I bought a few myself, and then I got a whole bunch sent to me." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then we started talking, but it felt very weird to even like try to mention to him that like I do influencer type stuff, because that's a weird conversation to have, to be like, well, I'm here, I don't expect any, I'm paying for this stuff, don't get me wrong here, but like I kind of do this stuff on the side, so I have a lot.
No, I don't like having the influencer talk with people who I don't really know, or even people I do know actually. It's just like I think I just don't like the term. I don't see myself in that way, and when I kind of think about that term, I think about like the big names type of a deal. I'm like, no, I'm not the Kim K. I'm just me. Like I'm still a goober.
I think it has that negative connotation to it because of those type of people, right? That are like overdoing it. But when you really do sit back and you say it, you're like, well, you are influencing, but maybe like educating is a better way that we could look at that, so we don't feel as bad on ourselves about it.
Yeah, I'm a teacher. I'm not an influencer.
There you go. I just, get free notebooks sent to me, and I tell you about them so I can educate them. Here's my discount code.
Yeah, there is a sale coming up and you should buy something.
All right, let's go into our next never have I ever. Oh my goodness. All right, never have I ever bought all the pens and inks in a collection just so I had the whole collection. And I will open this up beyond just pens and inks, like anything else. So I'm taking a drink on this one.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly a completionist. I like to have the full set of pretty much anything. Like the full set of Mardliners, despite the fact that I don't use Mardliners. I'm just like, but I don't have the 5-pack that they just came out with. I need to get it. I'm like, but do you, girl? Do you?
I feel the same way. That's a problem with Colorverse. They put out seasons of ink. So it'll be like season 1, season 2. And again, I was at the pen shop today and they sold, hold on, let me grab them because I think you would appreciate them now that you are a fountain pen aficionado. They're little itty bitty tiny ink bottles. So they are 5 milliliter ink bottles, right? And so these are all from Colorverse. They had a whole stand up and I was like, okay. And they were like, all right, three for $20? I think it was. But I was going through and I was like, okay, this was from season 2 and these were from season 6. And I have some of these and I was like, I want to collect all of them. I need them all. They're so little.
It's very much Pokemon, gotta catch them all, like kind of a thing. I think I've gotten a little bit better with it in terms of like notebook releases. I don't need every single notebook from every collection, and it's probably just because they take up a lot of room and I have quite a few. It's like, I know I have enough notebooks to last me maybe 15 years, so I should be okay. Should be. We'll see. If I keep giving them away to friends and family, maybe not. But
then you can buy more. I'm in the same exact spot, I think, with all the new releases too. And the other thing too is like for us, at least in Archer and Olive's case, being on the ambassador team is definitely helpful because every now and again we do get a notebook or two, right? And they're very kind and they'll ask us. And I think for the most part, you kind of get what you ask for. So that kind of fulfills me there, right? Where I'm like, okay, I'd like this one. This is the one I was going to buy anyway out of this set. And like to get that as a part of the team is a nice little benefit. So right now, but like eventually when I'm not on the ambassador team anymore, I'm going to be in that same spot, I think, where I'm going to be like, oh, okay, do I need all of these collections? Maybe just this one. And I don't know what I'll do with myself.
yeah, no, I think it's getting easier to pick and choose, I feel. Like, when I first kind of started getting into the notebooks in particular, it was very much a like, I need every single one kind of mindset, but nowadays it's not so bad. The real pain point for me is when it comes to pen sets and pen collections. Like, I want the full catalog so that when I go and swatch it in my book, I don't need to leave any blank spaces because I don't want to have to like make another collection because I get more later or anything like that. It's just nice and easy. If I just have all of them, thank you.
Yep. I was the same way with Kakamori is a wonderful like Japanese pen company and they have these really nice nibs. So I had gotten the stainless steel nib and then I got the brass nib and then they had this glass nib which they only sell like small limited quantities of, and every now and again they'll be like putting a few up on for sale, and the first time I missed it and then this time I was like on the website. I don't even know what time it was. I just remember being like, is it Japanese time or my time that they're releasing this? But I was on there until it popped up. I looked up the time for both just to make sure. And I got that sucker. But I was like, I needed it because I needed to complete that set. I have all the other ones. Oh, and the calligraphy nib too. I have all of the things now. I'm like, I am complete. It feels so good.
Just like have them all lined up being like, yes, my collection is complete.
Jess, I didn't know that you saw over here to the side where I do display them because I'm so excited that these exist. And I use them all the time too, but they also are displayed exactly like that.
Alrighty, our next one is never have I ever accumulated 20 plus notebooks in my favorite size. Guilty. There's like 90 of them. Guilty.
I'm currently doing that for square notebooks because I have so many A5s, but I really love square notebooks. So now every time a new collection or something comes out, I'm like, well, the only one I need to buy is square. So I'm on my way to 20. I'm not there yet, but absolutely do that.
Yeah, I'm not there for any other size except for A5 because that is definitely my preferred size. Square is my second favorite, and I have kind of started thinking like, okay, well, we've got enough A5s, maybe we'll start collecting the other ones for a rainbow. Like, do we need to? No, we don't need to, but we're going to, so meh.
We need a square rainbow, we need an A5 rainbow, B5 rainbow. I mean, let's just go all the way.
Literally, I want to like get my little A6 rainbow and be like, ah, baby rainbow, so
That's
cute.
very cute.
I know, I just want one in every size because they're sweet. But I found that with the last release, despite knowing that I'm like, okay, we don't need to buy any more A5s, that was the only notebook I got was A5 because I'm like, this design looks best on an A5 and I want it in an A5.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I was noticing that, not to go on a side tangent, but like Especially again, I'm talking Archer and Olive specifically because they've been doing a lot of these full size, full cover ones. They do look a little bit different on every difference on like each size now. Where I feel you on that. You're like that looks really good on square, but like A5 is looking a little squishy.
Yeah, like I found that with the foliage one that was from last year, this one looked best on the square. It was best on the square, hands down, fight me. But with the ship pulled into a harbor, the ship wheel one that came out in the last release?
Oh, the compass.
Yeah, any of the ones that were on the A5 or like the B5, anything that was rectangular but not like an exaggeratedly long rectangle. Because I thought it looked weird on the Travelers and it didn't look quite right on the square. But personal opinion, don't fight me. But
I'm getting the square one, so I'll see what it looks like when it gets here. I won't know the difference.
it's just me being a persnickety biscuit, so don't worry.
It's fine. You can be whatever you want, Jess. That's what makes you amazing. That's why we all love you. All right. Never have I ever glued an entire month together in my journal because I didn't like the way it looked.
No, I just abandoned the notebook. Nice and
easy. Burn it. Yeah, I've never glued a month together. I feel like that's a lot. I've glued a page together because I didn't like the way that it looked. Have I told you the cactus story before?
I think I heard about it, maybe, but not the podcast. You should tell them.
Probably my third bullet journal. And it was a big, huge one I got from Walmart. And the pages weren't great. This is before I understood what page quality really was or anything like that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this big like page because it's a huge B5 size thing. And I was like, really at that point, like into like succulents and cacti and things like that. So I draw it on my boxes and then I decide I'm going to draw these cacti coming out from like the sides of the boxes. And I go through and I create it and I'm like, those don't look like cactus to me. They were very phallic in nature, not intentionally. Like it was just something that I was looked at. I was like, oh my gosh, it is a page of penises. Like this, I can't take this to work. Then I went ahead and got a glue stick and I just went the whole page and stuck it together. I was like, oh, I'm good. And I go to work and I'm like sitting there working and doing something right on the page opposite of it. And someone's like, oh, what's on this other side of your paper? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I realized the paper was so thin that you could see the drawings on the opposite side of the paper. And I was like, oh, nothing.
Oh, no.
Close my notebook and start turning red and leave the room.
Oh no, the ghost of penises passed. Like, put it away.
That's exactly it. Oh my god,
dear.
I'm using that from now on. That is amazing. That's exactly what it was. They had come back to haunt me. They were, ooh, but yeah. So I mean, a page I've done. I've never drawn a cactus since. I went strictly stickers and stamps, but never done a whole month. That seems like a lot. I would just abandon it too. I feel like.
The only phallic incident that I had in my journal was when I was doing like tea-stained paper and you put kind of like splotches down and stuff so you have darker sections and whatever, was not paying attention, got to the end of it drying and I'm like, oh no, oh dear. Like I didn't expect that to be on the page, but I didn't fix it. I just wrote over the top of it and hoped that it wasn't too noticeable. But every time I turn back to the page, I'm like, oh, hi again, friend. It's such a pleasure to see you again.
Did you have like two small splotches and like one long splotch? Is that what was happening? Or
it was kind of like bent and I'm not going to explain it. We'll show it to you. If you're on the video podcast, you get to see it. But yeah, it's certainly a time. Won't be doing that again. Or if I do it again, I'm going to be a little bit more mindful as to where I put my coffee rings versus my like ink blowouts. So
ink blowouts, okay.
In terms of sticking pages together, though, I don't think I've stuck more than one page together. But if I was going to stick a lot of pages together, probably not too many, especially not in a really thick paper notebook. But I would probably encourage you to think about like trimming the internal pages down, because when you stick pages together, it does start to make kind of like a bit of bulk, a very thick kind of cardstocky kind of feel. So possibly with the internal pages, trim them to at least halfway, maybe even a little bit more, and then just stick the outer pages together just to kind of reduce the feeling of that really kind of cardstock-esque type deal. But Yeah, not one that I'm probably going to do, but possibly a solution.
All right, next one.
Ooh, okay. So never have I ever hoarded stationery because I got too excited about it.
Oh my
I don't think
gosh.
I've necessarily hoarded because I was excited, but I've hoarded it because I felt like it was like limited supply mindset. Like this is hoarding like a dragon, scarcity type deal. Like, oh, if I use this up, then I won't have it again, and it was limited release or whatever like that. But in terms of just being excited about it, probably not so much for me. What do you reckon?
I mean, you saw me gulp down half my coffee. I am so guilty of this one. I do it especially for Eric Small Things. So anything that she creates, and if you're not familiar with Eric Small Things, she's a Japanese eraser artist, and she just makes the cutest, coolest like designs ever. And their stamps and their stickers, and I even have a cup that I bought because it had Eric Small Things on it. Do I need this? I'm currently drying a nib inside of here. Like I didn't necessarily need it, but it was just I get so excited for anything she releases. And every now and again, I will go on like a stationary shopping spree on cute things from Japan because there's a $100 minimum for them to ship it for free, and I have to spend that. And so I will just go crazy. So anytime I see there's a new release, and now people know about it too, and I won't even see it. They'll message me and be like, Mark, did you see the latest thing that Eric Small Things released? And I'm like, damn you, I didn't see it, but now I need to buy it. And I just go crazy on it. So definitely do that.
Let Mark live in blissful ignorance. He doesn't need to know, but also like totally tell him because it's fun getting to see what he buys.
Yeah. And that's my own money. That's not even that influencer money. That's me just being a stationary geek. All right. Next one. Never have I ever created my own stickers.
Yes.
I won't do it. I don't know how to, and I'm scared.
I have, but not necessarily like anything fancy. Like I'll print off book covers for my reading journal on sticker paper and then just cut them out. I have a Cricut. It's staring at me right now. Can't make eye contact because then it'll know we were talking about it. I have not used it in a little while. Most of the time when I make stickers, I usually just draw on sticker paper and then cut it out myself rather than trying to like make a digital image or anything like that. I make printables, but I don't often turn them into stickers.
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure that out. I'm sure I could figure it out. I was making stencils for a while. Like I found out how to make my Cricut maker make stencils, and that was very cool. But stickers for some reason to me just feels like a thing that I don't know that I would feel confident in trying because I feel like you have to do a lot of things to make it work. And people on the internet make it look very easy. Like you see the reels where someone's like tapping on their iPad and then suddenly it becomes a sticker. And then they show their wall of crickets or silhouettes that are like printing things out constantly. And I was just like, see, my problem is that I would get so into it. And then that's what it would be. Go away, books and inks. This would just be a wall of crickets just constantly printing crap that I would never use. But that's just how I get about new hobbies. So it's probably best that I don't make my own stickers.
Yeah, I like to go and support sticker businesses instead and purchase from them. I don't really use stickers a lot, all that much though, so that's probably part of why I haven't really gotten into making them for myself. My friend Monica, she makes stickers for her reading journal. Like she'll either buy like digital art from sticker shops and then print them at home and stuff because shipping to the ass end of the world, like we said, it's expensive, and also it just means that you can print and use multiple times. You could also do possibly some like color editing on it if you wanted it to fit in with a theme that you're doing or whatever like that. So that's kind of how she likes to do them. For me, it's very much I will print out book covers. I will print out like headers, but I usually don't print them on sticker paper. I usually print them on brown paper bags so that I can rip them up and make them look kind of like collagey and stick those into my journal. Alrighty, next one is never have I ever tried to convert everyone I know to bullet journaling.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's one of those things though, like when you find something that's useful and that works really well, you want to share it with other people and you want to let them know about it. But the nice part is that by converting people that I know to bullet journaling, I now have my little Bujo Wednesday crew, so they come over to mine or I go over to theirs every Wednesday and we do journaling together. Is it the like pure bullet journal method? Possibly not, but I don't care. It's fun.
Yeah, I think early on for me it was definitely telling everybody about it. Anytime anyone gets excited about anything, especially me, I'm like, I have to tell everyone I know about this. This is so awesome. This is so cool. I do it less now, but it's probably because I'm remote. now. It was different when I was in person and people would always ask me like, wait, what are you doing there? Or, oh, did you create that? And I'm like, oh yeah, I bullet journal. So now it's mostly in conversations where people talk about like, well, how are you keeping yourself organized? Or what tools or tips are you using or resources? And then I'll mention it there in like a work meeting, be like, oh, have you tried bullet journaling? I've been doing that for 7 years and it's been working great for me, but definitely not like it used to be when I was just like, everybody bullet journal. Hey, oh, you have a problem? You should bullet journal. I say it to my kids and my wife all the time now though, too. They'll be like, oh, I really need something. I was like, bullet journal, get a bullet journal. They're like, I don't want to make my own. I'm like, get a bullet journal. I'll make it for you.
Yeah, have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Ryder Carroll? Like, it's always very much sharing the good word. No, I think that for me, like, because I work for myself at my house and very rarely go out unless you see people I already know, I'm kind of tapped out in terms of the number of people that I can tell about it, unless it's people on the internet. And if you're finding my content, it's probably because you were looking for that anyway. So
I'm hoping that I'm keeping track the right way, because I have 7 notes down here, but I feel like I've drank a lot more coffee than 7 times, but maybe that's just me. All right, let's go through our next one. All right, never have I ever switched to a new bullet journal setup after spending hours making one because the vibes were off.
I never let myself get to that point. I'm okay.
I'm not drinking for that one because I would never allow myself to set up a notebook and then not use it. Like, and that's me personally here, but I make sure the vibes are on before I even put anything down in my paper. I recently even was just using Post-it notes to like write what was going to go on those pages and almost kind of sketched out like a little detail of like what I thought it would look like, just because at this point now I've done this and set up so many notebooks. Like I know what I want and what I'm into. So I don't think I would ever allow myself to do something where the vibes were off. I've definitely had pages where the vibes were off, but never an entire notebook.
Yeah, I think the only time that I can consider where the vibes were off when I was doing a setup was when I was trying to repurpose a notebook halfway through using it. I'd set it up as kind of like a goals journal and hadn't really utilized it in the way I wanted, but there was still plenty of the notebook left. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can transition this to like a content planner. But having the like new journal set up in the middle of the journal gave me the ick. Like I just did not enjoy it at all. So after setting that one up, I did end up setting up another one. It's not like I completely abandoned the notebook. I just turned it into an R&D journal. So I used it for making layouts for the channel, like, idea layouts, whatever else. So the notebook still got used. It's not just like sitting in dormancy, like one day she'll come back to me. Like it got used. Fully used, but yeah, that's probably the only instance of it. I'll give myself a point though.
Yeah, you should give yourself a point. You haven't been drinking enough Coke Zero for this game for me.
People don't need to see me chug. Tink. Okay, so our next one is never have I ever bought an expensive notebook with no idea what I was going to use it for. That's like every notebook I buy.
I was just going to say,
what to my list?
What are we deeming as expensive?
I consider our Trinolive expensive because I don't know. I think I have a very weird relationship with like how much things cost versus how much I think they should cost in a way. Like, anytime I go out for dinner, like, $26. I don't think so, mister. So I think that in my mind, an Artrinolive notebook is definitely expensive. And so anytime I buy an Artrinolive, I guess if I don't have a defined purpose for it, then I am buying an expensive notebook for no reason. No, I bought it because I liked it. But
yeah, those heirloom ones that came out with the ones that are like the longer, I don't even know what size that is. I think it's technically letter size turned sideways. And I have them and I'm just like, I need to do something with them because I purchased these. I purchased extra of these. They need to have a purpose and an idea because otherwise I can't justify why I have it on my shelf other than I really like the way it looks.
That's it. It's usually just I bought it because maybe a little bit of FOMO and I like the way it looks.
Yeah. Alrighty. Next one. Never have I ever bought duplicate stationery because I forgot that I already had it.
Yeah, drink up, buttercup. I don't think mine's because I forgot I had it. It's more that, like, I purchased it and then somebody sent it to me for free or vice versa. Like, my most recent issue with that was buying click arts and then sitting at the zebra table and getting the same pack of click arts that I just purchased to complete my collection.
I've done that with the Archer and Olive, what's it called? Garden Snake or the Slithering Snake. It was an older design. I don't think they've released it or they maybe archived it or whatever, but it was one of those things where I really liked the design of that notebook. notebook, and I had one, and then I think I bought another one at some point and had it on my shelf, and then they were like, we're having a sale and we're getting rid of these, and I was like, I don't think I have this notebook. And then when I did my notebook cataloging, I was like, I have 3 of the garden snake ones because I didn't know that I already had the one, and I bought the other one and then forgot that I had it, and then somehow ended up with 3 of them.
The joke in my house is always about Terminator 2 because my dad bought like 3 copies of Terminator 2 or something like that. So for the longest time, it was just like, oh, well, we don't want to buy a duplicate. We don't want another Terminator 2 fiasco. But then when I was over at my parents' house earlier this year helping them tidy up, my mom had 2 copies of the same sewing book. So my dad's like, vindication. Like, that's not just me. I feel like everybody needs to take a drink for this one, but it's like never have I ever written down a task that I already did just so I could cross it off.
I do this on the daily.
It's like every day.
Yeah, I just did this today actually, but I do it as a way to, I'm going to say memory keep, not in the sense that I think we use it often, but really to remind myself that I have done that already. So when I go back to read through it, it's like, oh yeah, you did email that person to do that. Because I felt weird, like I'm in the middle of writing an email to be like, oh, I need to remind myself that I need to do this, or did it. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop now. I just sent it. And I'm like, okay, emailed this person for this reason. So I do that all the time. And also, it should have gone in there and you should be prioritizing the task, but you're like, I'm just going to blow through these real quick. And you're like, but I'm going to track that I blew through them real quick.
Exactly. I think of it kind of like as an achievement log. It's like a record of progress kind of a thing. Because otherwise, if I don't write these things down, I get to the end of the day and go like, what the heck did I even accomplish? So if I have those little things that I've written down even after having done them, I can look back over the day and be like, actually, you did use your time effectively. You were productive. It's just, the stuff that you didn't necessarily outline at the start of the day as things to get done. Because stuff comes up. So I still want to have that captured somewhere to feel good about the fact that I actually used my time wisely.
Yeah, there is, it's called the distraction method. It's something Rachel in Theory did. And I love this one because she was doing this to track when other people were telling her to do things that were not on her list. And so she was kind of writing them down afterwards just to be able to look back and be like, here's why I wasn't able to accomplish the things I needed to today, because these people told me I needed to do something else. And I thought that was very interesting. So it's, not always a bad thing just for like visuals, but sometimes it's a really great to track like these other things did happen. I'm just going to note that they happened to be aware of them. So I don't see it as a bad thing, but I've definitely also done it to like fill out my page. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I just call those side quests. It's like, okay, well, this was the main quest for the day, the thing that you kind of hope to get done, but these are all of the other things that you not necessarily like distracted yourself with, like they still needed doing, they still got done or whatever, but they were the side missions, the ones that weren't necessarily the daily highlighter, the daily focus.
I love that. That's something I saw one of the videos recently. It said ADHD is just constant side quest, never getting to the main story. I was like, oh, that's so incredibly true.
That's how I play all of my games, so I might as well play my life that way too.
All right, our next one. Never have I ever bought stationery because everyone else had it.
I think I'm safe for the most part.
Just to prove that I do this all the time. So everyone had been posting about these right track pens, right? They were like, it's a retractable pen, and it was just like all my favorite penfluencers were like posting about it. And I was like, well, now I need it. And so I bought it, and I was like, did I need this? No, but everyone else had it. It was somewhat inexpensive. I was like, add it to the collection. My favorite part of this, though, and I think I posted about this too. It has stab warnings all over it. So it's a retractable pen. So if you're on YouTube or visual, see this, right? It's the one where you press it and it comes out of a little hole. And I guess people forget that happens. And so they're constantly stabbing themselves with it. But there was a disclaimer on the pen case. There was a disclaimer on the pen. There was instructions. And there was a disclaimer on the ink as well. Like, don't stab yourself when doing this. So now it's just my funny, super dangerous killer pen. And I did make jokes about it all the time.
Who knew that fountain penning was such a dangerous sport? Oh my lord.
It is so dangerous, especially with stabby pens.
I don't think that I've necessarily purchased a stationery item just because I saw that a whole bunch of other people had it, but maybe you just have like more self-awareness than I do. Maybe that is exactly what I'm doing and I'm just not like cottoned on to the fact.
Well, it's hard. We talk about Archer and Olive all the time just because I feel like they're so guilty of it because they have their products for the amount that they have, right? I know a number of people online complain about it sometimes, but they're like, if I don't buy it at that moment and everyone else is talking about it or doing whatever they're doing with it, the marketing is always really great, but you feel like I have to buy it because everyone's so excited about it and talking about it. I feel like that is a main area for me, where it's just like, if you see a lot of people mentioning it, I see it in stories, and it's not even that they've purchased it. Sometimes it's like, oh, Twisby released this new pen, like they had a new like latte color, right? I have 5 Ecos now. I have a lot of them, right? Like I technically don't need it, but then everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm buying this is the perfect color, I have the perfect ink to go with this pen. And I was like, do I want this? I think I want this. Do I need it? I don't know that I need it. I think about my grandmother all the time. You know, she was this little Brazilian woman, and she was like, Mark, there's a difference between want and need. And I was like, yeah, but I need that Lego set, Volvo. Like, it's not a want. I need that. So I always think about her whenever I'm like, but do I need it or do I just want it?
See, I always think about my mum in those kind of instances where mum will say like, oh, rah, rah, you know, want something or whatever kind of thing. I'm like, Mum, you don't need it. And she said, need? Who said anything about need? I want this. I'm like, good on you, Mum, knowing what you want.
I want this sewing notebook. You're like, you already have one of these in your bookcase.
You don't need another one. You're like, I don't care. I couldn't find the last one, so I bought another one. That's probably what happens. What? Oh my gosh, so many books. Like, tiny drum roll. Not really. So, never have I ever added $20 of stationery to get free shipping, which would have only been $8. So guilty. Oh my gosh. It's just like a marketing ploy, like free shipping or the word sale or anything like that. I'm a sucker for it. It's gonna get me. That's why I have to stay away from the internet sometimes.
Yeah, I'm very much like this. I mean, I was kind of talking before with like cute things from Japan. I have to spend $100 to get free shipping. And the shipping isn't always like crazy expensive, but sometimes it is. So I just know, like, if I'm going to shop there, I will be spending $100 and I will be getting free shipping. But I definitely price it out for myself if I'm buying other things. And it is like, you know, spend an extra $10 to get free shipping. And so I'll go through the whole process to see how much shipping is. And then I find a way to justify it in my mind. Like, well, I did want that other stamp set. That's $10. So technically I'm saving money. And then I just, yeah.
I think the internet calls that girl math, but like it is very much that kind of like the way that we like justify these purchases to ourselves. It's like, if it's buy one, get one free, it's free. Like the whole thing or whatever.
I'm the same way. All right, Jess. So that was our last one. So let's go ahead and tally up. I have a belly full of coffee. I'm extremely hyped up right now. How many points did you get for Never Have I Evers?
Well, out of the 20 that we had, I got 12 of them, so I'm not feeling too bad. I feel like they weren't too targeted, except for maybe somebody throwing out that rainbow comment, but 12 out of 20, not too bad.
Yeah, that was directly aimed at you.
I know, right? Attacked.
I have 13. Really thinking through those, anything that I just blatantly have not done, I'm like, yeah, not me. But the other ones, it's a little harder because you're like, well, I could definitely think of how I could do this.
Oh, I'm definitely playing in the gray area.
We definitely know. We're like, look, we don't look too crazy, but also at the same time, like, it's reality. So a big thank you to everyone who submitted your Never Have I Evers. We had so many of them. We could play this game for go wild long episode, but we're not going to do that to you today. So thank you. Definitely let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or answering on social medias. We have to know what your number was. You can also hit us up in email as well, plannerpalspodcast@gmail.com, and also over on Instagram at plannerpalspodcast. Cannot wait. I've got one more Never Have I Ever for you, Jess. Never have I ever used a digital planner before.
I have. I actually made one for myself, and I actually sell it on my tiny online shop. Huzzah! No shout outs to that.
What? I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, no, I got to the end of one of my notebooks at one point, and I'm just like, I only have enough space for 1 month, and there's November and December. I'm not transferring to a new notebook for just 1 month of the year. So I was like, okay, what's the workaround here? And I decided to use a digital notebook that I made on Notion for a month, which was an interesting experiment. What about you? Digital planning?
I've dabbled in the digital planning before and tried some things out. So I think we should make a whole episode out of it. How about that?
That sounds like a good time. Alrighty, let's do that for our next one. So next time, coming up on the Planner Pals podcast, digital planning. All right, the benefits, the cons. Would that be something that we'd actually transition to at one point, or are we very much firmly in camp pen and paper?
I can't wait for that episode and to hear more about your little stationery shop that I didn't know that you even had, Jess. This is like a new secret that we're uncovering, and to share overall digital planning stories with you all next time. Thank you so much for hanging out, Planner Pals, and we'll talk to you next time.